Is it too good to be true? Are these players performing at a level that they just can't sustain? Yes. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and a movie that really needs a remake is Ernest Scared Stupid. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky at joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, use the code LOCKEDONNBA, and get $20 off your first purchase. Check out lockedondaily.com as well. And over there, you will find the best newsletter for your favorite NBA team. That is lockedondaily.com. You can also find the best fantasy show, maybe, according to some. Not to me, but according to some. This is this one. And you thumb it up and you double bang. And you can check out the live trade deadline show as well. You know how uncomfortable that felt for me to even... I just slipped into making a joke about being the best fantasy show. It's so uncomfortable. I hate saying that. I tried as a joke and it came out of my mouth. And I was like, that is disgusting. Don't say that. Don't say that. We did buy lows earlier. Now let's do sell highs. 5 players who I think are just going a little bit crazy and probably don't hold at this number. It is remaining National Argyle Day. That's what we're at, and that's what we're looking at. Ignore that little intro screen that said they're set to rise. They're not. They're set to fall. That was a mistake on my behalf, but time is running short. Let's recap, though, the sell highs from 2 weeks ago. Did we get them right? Do we bang them? Nail, hammer, head? We'll try it. The headmaster, Jamal Murray, was a sell high. He was 15th 2 weeks ago. He's 31st since then. I actually think that 31 is not an outrageous number to suggest that Murray would continue. The crazy thing about Murray is people think that he was terrible, and he had this incredibly hot run. And even since then, he's still been putting up big numbers. I actually think 31 is reasonable to suggest he might stay at, but also reasonable to suggest he might fall from that spot even further. Larry Markin, we had at 34th. He is 72nd since then. He's missing games with random back spasms. And the stuff on Markin and for me remains the same as it's always been. I wouldn't have touched him, and I didn't in any head-to-head league. I am incredibly worried about what happens in March and April. That stuff has started early, and he is underperforming. So any opportunity you had to get out of Larry Markin, and you do it. Russell Westbrook was 52nd. I thought that he would fall. He did. Not by much, though. 64th since we did that show. The Aaron Gordon return will have some sort of an impact on him, but he's putting up really good numbers and continues to. But I still think there's a bit of a sell high window there. Jalen Duren moved down a little bit. He went from 61st down to 74th. He's been playing a little bit better of late, so I don't think he's necessarily going to be outside the top 100 or anything like that as we move forward, but 74th sounds about right, I would say, in terms of where we're going to place him for the remainder of the season. But, we'll find out. The last name of that list is the Padawan, Colin Sexton. I'm dumb because I can't figure out what they're going to do with him. I thought big season coming. Then I was told, they're not going to buy into him. And I went, okay, let's drop him down a bit. And then I didn't drop him down far enough. And they were benching him and playing him 23 minutes a night. And Johnny Juzang was playing. And then he started playing 35 minutes a night. And then he started playing 38 minutes a night. Then he started playing 26 minutes a night. Then it's all over the shop. And now everyone's out apart from him again. I don't know what to make of Colin Sexton. So why did I put him on the sell high list? Anyway, he was 64th. He's down to 78th. I do still think that there is sell high in that. But honestly, if there's anyone you want to listen to less about Colin Sexton, it's me. So don't. You can buy low. You can sell high. I don't know what to do with him. I don't know what to do with the Jazz. And I'll continue to tell you listen to somebody else about Colin Sexton because I cannot figure it out. I can't figure out what they're going to do. It goes back and forward all the time. If you can hit those, good for you. You've done very well, and you are doing better than me in that spot. The sell highs are interesting this week because I actually picked 2 pairs of teammates. And here's a task for you. Can you guess them? If you're watching this live on YouTube, even if you're listening to the audio and you want to tweet it at me, who do you think are the 2 pairs of teammates on the Sell High show? And I will make sure that the guy on the thumbnail and cover is not one of the teammates. There you go. So you don't get a hint there. We're going to go to Chicago because Zach LaVine is cooking at the moment. we love what LaVine is up to. He was definitely an underrated player at fantasy draft season. I did get him in a couple of leagues, but I don't think I was high enough on him. Obviously people have been concerned about, he might get traded and injury stuff, and which I don't really buy much of the injury stuff, because what did he play, like 10 games last year, but he played 79 the year before or something like that, and you know my thoughts on it, right? But the worry for me was the trades and where he's going to fit in terms of hierarchy, and he's had some down moments this season for sure, but he is cooking. 13th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. 47 fantasy points. He's averaging 30 real-life points a game. In fact, he's averaging 30 and 6. That's ridiculous. He's doing it with a 52% shooting from 3, 55 from the field. He's got a 31% usage. And who's been out that's usage on the Bulls? No one, really. The only guy that's currently out is Dosunmu. There was a little bit of an absence from Giddey in there, but he has just ramped it up. But we've also had discussions about LaVine this season and saying, why is he taking a back seat? Why is Vooch getting 29 usage? Why is Dosunmu getting shots? Why is Pat Williams shooting it? Why is LaVine doing nothing? We've had those discussions, but it is flipped in his favor massively. Like, I can go back and there's a stretch of games here, end of November, where his usage was 22, 16, 30, 21, 19. And then he went 35, 40. Then he missed a game, and then he had 31, then 19, 22, then 37, then 21 usage. And then the last 3 games have all been sky high. But it's realistically, that usage won't hold at that number. His season-long usage number sits at 26%. He is just flying well above that at the moment. But it's the shooting. Like, the shooting is just not going to hold. And I don't care who you are. I don't care what you say. Nobody will ever convince me that this can hold. It has absolutely zero shot. He is shooting 52% from 3. There is no way that holds. You could argue that he might attempt 5 free throws a game. Cool. You could argue that he holds 6.5 assists and 30 usage. Totally reasonable. I get why you would. I won't do that, but I get why you would do it. He is not shooting 50+% from 3. So you have got 12, let's say 10 maybe, percentage point drop that is definitely coming. He is definitely dropping. And I'm sure I won't get the people that want to argue with me the way they do about Vooch or Norman Powell. When I say that, for some reason, those guys really love to take it all in. But this is coming down. It's not a fact because it hasn't happened. But it's as close to a guarantee as you can get in a prognostication type industry. He will not shoot 51%, I assure you. His season-long three-point numbers, LaVine, are incredible. 45%. So the worry I have with all of that is, could he just have like a 34% run here for 3-4 weeks? Maybe. He's a good shooter. Absolutely. But his last 3 seasons, last season, didn't play. He played 25 games last season, my bad. He had 35%, the year before 38, the year before 39. Like, you're rolling 6 percentage points higher for a season, and he's at 52 now. It's going to fall, and it can either be a prolonged fall over the next 10 weeks, or you get a 3-week period of shooting 20%. It is unfeasible. Is it unfeasible or infeasible? I don't know. But anyway, it's not going to hold at that number. The usage isn't going to hold. The assists are even like, they're 2 assists up over the season-long number. That seems unlikely to stick. He is a top 15 player. So what would I want back in a trade if I'm getting rid of LaVine? Well, I love what he's doing. I love the value here. If I could get any top 30 player, easy yes. I don't know that you can, but it's an easy yes if you can do that. Realistically, he could be a top 45 guy. That is, I don't think he will be. Even top 40, it is realistic that he can do that. I just don't think he will. And I think it's relatively obvious that that's just not going to hold at this level. I don't see how you can have any debate on that. We've got 4 more sell highs that are coming up. Before we get to that, today's episode is brought to you by a new sponsor, the big fellas, over at Ultimate College Basketball GM. You guys love playing GM. That's why you play fantasy. But if you ever wanted to do it for college basketball, because you can do it now on a brand new mobile game, Ultimate College Basketball, HC. So if you've dreamed of being that college basketball head coach, or you just love fiddling around with programs and being in a managerial position, well, here you go. You handle every detail of your program, recruiting players, hiring staff, overseas training camps, NIL deals, scholarships. It is all in your hands. And when you get to game time, you draw up the plays, you set the strategy. What you do in those games affects everything. Your legacy, the program's future recruits, all of that stuff is there. And if you are watching this show, which of course you are because you're listening to me speak, you get a special promo code to give you a boost to start off your program in the right direction. Locked on CBB, all caps, is the code you use in the game store to get a free boost for your program. It is the perfect way to kickstart your coaching career. Download Ultimate College Basketball HC. Just visit ultimate-cbb.com or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate College Basketball HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. Just don't throw chairs at the players who underperform. Okay, let's go on to the next player who is a teammate of that first player. And we're going to go to, no, it's not him. It is not him. Save your outrage. It's not the GOAT, Nick Vucevic. We're not selling him. In fact, we're buying him low because he's got top 5 upside. A joke. He's got top 5 upside. So, yeah, if you want Vuce, buy him. Get him. It's him, Shea, Jokic, or Wemby. We're debating about where those guys sit in terms of the top 5. It's up for grabs. The guy I do think is a sell high here is Coby White. White has been, and I sort of teased this yesterday, talking about, I reckon we might get a bit of a chat on old Coby in the next show in the sell high, because he has been incredibly up and down this season. I don't think there's really much debate about that being a fact, because it's clearly a fact. And in the moment, we're just getting a really strong push from Coby. And that's great. That is the nature. I was going to say diurnal, but it's not diurnal. It's just the nature of, it's the cyclical nature of certain players more so than others. White has been, I would say overall, somewhat of a disappointment at times this season. But at the moment, we are flying. 30th ranked player over the last 2 weeks, averaging 38 fantasy points. I think he's a top 100 guy rest of season, and I'm going to make some adjustments overall to his long-term projection, and that probably bumps him up even a little bit higher than that 95 I've got ranked there, maybe up to like 80. Right? I think that's realistic. What he's doing at the moment is not. And you all know why. And this is one of the main things I want you to take out of these shows, so you can do your own sort of evaluations at times. The first thing you want to look at, not rank, not scoring, not vibes, gut feel, none of that stuff. What's he shooting? What's his 3-point percentage? Because fantasy sites won't show you that because it's not a category. What's his 2-point percentage? Fantasy sites won't show you that. It's not a category. Well, he's at 59%, 56% on twos. He's at 45% on threes. Is it realistic to think that Coby White can be a 41% 3-point shooter? Yep, I would say that it is. I'd say that is a realistic outcome for him. I'd say it's a possibility that he can be that good. Right? I don't think that's realistic. I don't think that's an outrageous statement to throw out there. But every little percentage point here on someone who is a guard who takes a lot of threes, 50% plus 3-point attempt rate with White, I don't think it's crazy to say that 3 percentage points of shooting is going to have an impact. It's even crazier for White because the stuff that's in recent memory, the last 3 games, he's shooting 61% on threes. Now, he's a 37% shooter from 3 this season. You want to know what his numbers have been the last 3 years? He's at 37.3. Last season, 37.6. The season before, 37.2. I've never seen a variance that tight. Well, I probably have, but 37.2 the lowest, 37.6 the highest over 3 years. The year before that, 38.5. And now, bro's rolling at 61 and 45 over his last 3 games. That's going to balance itself out, isn't it? It's not going to hold there at all. It's not. It might just go back to 38, which is still really good, but it's not holding. White also, sort of out of nowhere, is at 5.8 assists over the last 6 games. Over his last 3, he's back to 4.3. Over the last month, he's at 4.4. Over the season, he's at 4.6. So there's like a 3-game sample where things are flying through the roof, boosting all of his numbers. His steals, I think, are higher than they're going to be. He's at 0.7 steals last season. He's at 1.1 this season. But he's also at 1.2 over this recent period of time. Oh, and the big fella doesn't miss free throws either anymore. He shot 84 from the line last season. He's missed 1 over the last 6 games. 1. He just misses 1 more free throw over that time, and then that drops a lot of the value down. I think that he's like a 31 to 32 fantasy point player, probably. Like I said, I am making some adjustments on his rest of season projection. So I've got him projected there at 29.5 fantasy points. I am going to make some adjustments on that. They'll probably push him to 30, 31. I like the direction that things are going for White. And if LaVine is traded for a bunch of garbage that comes back, then yeah, like he could easily spike further than that. But it is a great opportunity to get White at the moment. If you could get a top 55 sort of a player for him back, which is well below what he's been currently producing, I would do that. There are people who, I think, one of the bigger believers in White, and this often happens, is I believe in a player. I have a value on him. People go, nah, he's trash, he's terrible. He plays well. My valuation stays similar and it improves, it increases slightly, and then someone else goes from a negative 20 into a positive 20 and go, man, he's cooking, he's an all-star, he's going to lead the team, face of the franchise. I'm going, hey, maybe we settle down a bit on that, and then it seems like I'm a hater on the guy. And I think that's where we are with White at the moment, whereas I think he's fine. I liked him tons more than nearly everybody last season. But I think that what he's doing at the moment just is not a realistic number for him to be able to continue, because his usage hasn't really spiked. He's sitting at like 24%. He's just doing the sort of same, just getting 50% more assists and hitting an incredible amount of 3s and 2s and not missing free throws ever. It's not going to hold. It just is. There's no way. It doesn't stay at that level. Let's go on to the next guy. And who are we going to talk about now? I'm just going to debate whether we go to the teammates or we go to the one in the middle. No, let's do the non-teammate player, the thumbnail legend himself, Christian James McCullum. Much like when I did the buy lows and Anunoby had been on the Sell High show, now he's a buy low. I had CJ McCollum on the buy low show saying that I don't really like CJ McCollum necessarily as a player and as a fantasy guy, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be better than what he currently is. And now he said, you're right, Josh. I am going to be way better than I currently am, and you're going to go way past the Mendoza line of production, and now he's into a very clear sell high. And your window on this, I think, is very, very small. Zion Williamson is returning today. That will have an impact on CJ without any question. He is the 35th ranked player, CJ McCollum, over the last 2 weeks. That is a very high number. It's not like it's just that has only been the time that Zion and Ingram have been out, because they've been out for way longer than that. It's just this is the time where CJ has decided to put his foot down. He's averaging almost 39 fantasy points. He's at 29 real-life points, hitting 5 threes a game. Number one, there's already a red flag there. 5 threes a game, come on. He's hitting 51% of his threes. There it is. He's attempting 10 threes a game. He's at 57 on his 2s. His usage at 30%. It's just not going to stick. It just isn't. He's at 28% usage for the season, 27.7, and that is without Zion or Trey or Ingram together for any of that time. He is just on an incredible run. It's fantastic. He is attempting 20 field goal attempts per game. Last season, he attempted 16. 16. And DeJounte Murray's now there. It just isn't going to hold. And one of the other red flags you look at is his assists are at 3.5. He's only at 4 for the season because DeJounte is there. So he's not going to get that spike back to 5 assists that he got last season. He's just going to stay at a lower assist rate. The usage is going to plummet, and he's doing the thing. One of the key things. Increased usage, abnormally high shooting turns a player into a GOAT. And when one of those things falls, which is going to be usage when Zion plays, and then he goes into a shooting slump, well, it's going to look trash. And it did look trash. That's why he was on the buy low show. What else is happening here? What else is he doing that's different? Well, realistically, it's that. It's 30 usage. It's 68 true shooting. It's 1 million threes. It's actually even attempting more free throws than he usually does. And yeah, for the season, he's at 3.1 free throws, but he was at 2.1 last season. And again, when Zion today, and if Ingram plays, I don't think he's even going to get to 3 a game. This is your chance to, if you could get a top 60 guy for CJ, I easily do it. Top 70, easy. They don't have faith in Zion staying healthy, understandably so. They don't believe that Ingram will play again for the Pelicans. I totally get that. But even if those two things happen, CJ will not continue to be this level of shooter. The usage will probably fall a little bit as well. So even if those two things do happen and Zion gets hurt in one game and Ingram never comes back, CJ is still going to drop from here. It gives you a pretty large window, I think, to be able to sell high on what CJ is providing. I think that one, I think it's relatively straightforward what McCullum's up to and where the value sits. We've got 2 more guys to go. They do come from the same team. Get ready for them. Before we get to that, though, today's episode is brought to you by the Game Time app. You're down in the old Big Easy and you want to go watch the CJ McCollum show? see him hit all these threes? Well, you can do it with Game Time, any sort of live events, those sports, concerts, comedy, whatever it is. Game Time gets you those tickets and gets them to you at the best price possible. That's where Game Time Picks comes in. It filters out the fluff to get you the best value tickets to the event that you want to go and see. So you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Plus, they've got things like the Super Deal, which gives you those really impressive extra bonus discounts, unbeatable prices, plus the all-in pricing on the app shows you the total cost up front so you don't get surprised with fees at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right. So, have you figured out who the other two teammates are? You might have read. Maybe the names are in the description. I'm not sure if I'm going to put them in there. But you might have figured out who the next team is and who the teammates are that we're going to be talking about, because we're actually going to CJ McCollum's former team. We're going to Portland, and we're talking about a guy that absolutely cooked yesterday, and that is Anfernee Simons. And part of the reason I try and take in, I can't reply to every comment or tweet that I get. It's impossible to do that. I would need to have a second full-time me to do that. But I try and read as much as I can of what people send in and comment about. And there's always going to be someone like this. But I also know that when someone takes the time to comment something, there will be a percentage of people that definitely agree with that don't take the time to comment it. And the comment was, man, you are so wrong on Anfernee Simons. This guy is a star. You are so wrong on him, right? That was the comment. I went, all right, I'm not, I don't think. But whatever. And also, if that's the view, if you think that, like, I don't know what view you think I have of Simons to say that, but regardless, someone thinks that Simons is actually as good as what he's been doing. So let's break down what he's been doing. He's the 42nd ranked player over the last 2 weeks, averaging 36 fantasy points. He's averaging 24 real life points, hitting 4.5 threes a game. He's at 46% from three, taking 10 threes a game at 63% true shooting. Has he been good this season? Not to this level, not at all. He is still averaging 23 points with 4 assists, but like, he also, for some weird reason, can't hit free throws this season. He was at 83. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong player. That was CJ McCollum, who also, by the way, can't hit free throws this season. I don't really know why that's been going on for him. So Simons, he had 24 points a game with 6 assists, my guy. So the numbers I read out there were bad. They were CJ's numbers, my bad. So he's at 24 points per game with 4.5 threes. He's at 48 from the field and 93 from the line. So he obviously can hit free throws. But bro, what he is doing at the moment is very, very good. He has also had, in the last 2 weeks, 3 games where he hasn't attempted a single free throw. He has had a 5-game streak of scoring 20-plus points. The 2 games prior to that, 10 and 8. It is a gigantic hot streak because he's hitting 46% of threes. He's hitting 48% overall. He is hitting, what's he hitting on his twos? 51%. That's actually about normal for him. That's not really an outlier. So what we're getting from him at the moment is just a hot streak. The usage is 26. That's about normal. But at some point, I believe there will be an injury. There will be or a trade, unlikely but possible. And at some point, they will give opportunities to Scoot Henderson. But even if that doesn't happen, what he is doing at the moment, hitting 46% of threes, is not real. That has easy 10 percentage point drop coming at some point. He's at 35 for the season. He's at 39 last season, 38 the year before that. So maybe it's not. Maybe long term it's not a 10-point drop. It could be. Maybe it's an 8 percentage point drop. And then volume drops. And scoring drops. And 3-pointers made drop. It's just incredibly. He's not even averaging 19 points a game this season. His minutes are through the roof at 36 a game. His usage is at 26, but it's just true shooting, hitting his threes at an incredible rate. And it's that number is not viable. He's not going to do it. Plus, he might not be there in your fantasy playoffs. So, like I said, he's 42nd over the last 2 weeks. I think he's like a top 90 guy per game rest of season. But I have no faith in him in a head-to-head categories or points leagues for playoffs of being there. So, if we're talking value, I don't even value him as a top 100 guy. Therefore, if I could get a top 70 player back, a top 80 player back, thanks. I'll take it. I'll take a short-term hit, feeling better that I know that his numbers are going to drop. Again, not a fact, but as close to 100% confidence I can have that he will not remain a 46% three-point shooter from here on out. So that's as close to a fact as I can give you in this sort of a scenario. So that'll drop, plus the risk of not playing end of season. Means that it is, I think, or it should be, again, tied into people's ability to love pure hoopers and love scoring. They love it. You can turn it probably into something way more valuable than what he's going to give you come March 1st. I feel pretty confident about that. And there'll be a lot of you saying, yeah, of course, Josh, we know this. You know that. That's great. I know you know that. But not everyone does. Absolutely not everyone does. And not everyone believes it, or thinks that they're immune to it, or thinks that it'll be fine, or thinks that he is this good, or thinks that he is this much of a baller. Blah, blah, blah. There's always going to be someone out there that believes that. And they might already have Simons, so they're not going to do anything with it. But if you take the name away, take the pure hooper status, take the team away, take the tanking scenarios out of this, and just look at 46% from three, it's going to fall. Who does he think he is? Luke Kennard? It is going to fall. That is the easiest argument to convince yourself of. Doesn't matter about how good he is or what you think he's going to do or running the team or trades or none of it. You can eliminate all of that. He just won't shoot that number. He just won't shoot it. And that's all you should need, plus all the other stuff you can chuck on top of it. So therefore, that means the last player we're talking about is his teammate. And it's a little bit of a different reasoning I've got here. It's Deni Avdija. And you will say, Josh, Jeremy Grant, the Ides of March will hit. Avdija will move into a position where he'll be someone will say number one guy. That'll never happen, but he will be the number one player. He will put up big numbers and he will cook. And I understand why you say that. Last season, down the stretch in Washington, when Kyle Kuzma was out, Avdija moved into the starting lineup or moved into a larger offensive role and did a lot more and tied larger role with increased shooting and was really good. I was incredibly skeptical of the price that Portland paid to get Avdija and what his role would be because I said there's like 5 other guys who are going to have more usage than him. So far that has played out, but what we got at the moment, this is about timing on this stuff, is that the fact that I've said all of that, and I know that people are going to be screaming at me about this, about the way that he is going to be able to cook later on when someone is traded or fake hurt, right? People are going to be screaming that part of it in their heads or in the comments or something. The fact that that is happening means this is a sell high because that is definitely possible, right? That is possible that Grant is gone, that Simons is out, someone else gets hurt, Avdija plays 35 a night, and his usage rides up, and we get big numbers. His usage is at 21 this season, but over the last month, it's up to 24. He's playing what's he playing over that time? 29 minutes a game. He's at 34 minutes a game over the last 2 weeks. That's put him 52nd over that time frame. He's been 100th. I think he's around 100th rest of the season. All of that, right, is true. And this is where it comes in, I think, as a sell high. Is because people have that idea. Josh, he'll just keep doing this. Grant's not going to play. He's going to be the number one guy. He's the guy for them. He's the future star. Again, I don't buy that at all. I think he's a very good role player. All of that narrative that swirls around Avdija means that you can actually sell him for a value that's pretty close to what he's doing. And the reason why I'm not going to buy it is I don't want to buy that Deni Abia is a 65% two-point shooter. And why don't I want to buy that? Because there's no evidence that he is. His last 4 seasons, including this one, starting at this season, 53. Last season, 56. The season before, 53. The season before that, guess what? 53. So he's on a little run here of 65% from 2. Has he improved? I guess it's possible. Has he improved that much? Pretty unlikely. I would say it's almost impossible that he's improved that much. Denny Abdia's free throws the last 4 seasons, 676, 74, 74. And this season he's up to 79.7. But he's also hitting 84% of them over the last 6 games. All right? He's at 1.2 steals per game. His steal numbers the last few seasons, 1, 0.8, 0.9, 0.7. Yep. His rebound numbers, they're very much up. 8 rebounds a game over the last 6. Last season, he averaged 7. The season before, he averaged 6.4. He's averaging 6.1 this season. It's feasible that those rebounds push to 7, 7.2 with the maybe absence of Grant. That's all true. His minutes are through the roof. But I don't believe in any level of consistency with his shooting, with his free throws, with his 2-point numbers, with his rebound numbers at all. I do believe that he will get a bump in minutes rest of season. I do believe that he will be able to take advantage of some absences. But also, they gave away 2 first-round picks to get Deni Avdija onto the team. What makes you think that they're going to put him out there, who they obviously think is worth that, if they're trying to lose games? Or they're trying to preserve his health? Why wouldn't he be included in the Simons and Grant group of fake injured players down the stretch? It's just assumed that Grant's going to sit and Avdija moves into a starting lineup and puts up huge numbers and leads the team. But what if they view him to the degree of giving away 2 first-round picks? What if they view him that he is a part of that core and we actually want to protect him and he's going to be too good for us and get us wins, so we're going to put Chris Murray out there? Yep. Tying all that in, again, with the fact that those shooting numbers are not going to hold. And I don't think that he's absent from risk of sitting down down the stretch of the season. But it doesn't get talked about at all. It's just assumed that Denny's this young guy that's going to get all these development minutes. Like, he's 24. They traded 2 first-round picks thinking that he is something already. There is no... And look, what I am saying is not guaranteed either. It is not guaranteed that he gets sat down at all. I'm just saying that it is not even discussed as a possibility. And you have to have it as a possibility, I think. He may not get sat down. That is true. But to completely dismiss it, to just think that they'll all sit down and he'll just run the show, I think is foolish. I think that not even considering that is foolish. Hence, why I think you can actually sell high on him, because nobody's thinking that. Look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people are thinking that. I've not heard a single person mention that ever about Avdija. Nobody knows more than me about this. I'm joking. No, I've heard no one talk about it. Other fantasy analysts, other commenters, people interacting. No one. I've never heard it mentioned once. So when I was thinking about this show, I went, that's a little weird. Why would he be the guy that's completely immune to this? Maybe he is. But also maybe he's not. And that's your sell highs. We went through 2 pairs of teammates, Zach LaVine and Coby White. We went through Deni Abia and Anfernee Simons, and we chucked in a former Blazer in there as well in CJ McCollum. So, you know what to do. You thumb it, you comment, you drop it all down below. That's always lovely when you do that. But more importantly, you just know that you did a good thing. You pay attention to yourself. You pay attention to others. You lift everybody up. It is possible to do. And let's improve our happiness, one happiness unit at a time. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.